The Solemn Vow is a joke, and it's not even a good one. Usually a weapon will change how a class is played, or shore up a weakness, or reward skillful play. Yeah, this one does none of that. So let's talk about the Solemn Vow. It's just weird that among all these other bone saws, we have this thing that just looks like a white dude on a stick. Hang on, okay, I can think of something better, hang on. This thing that looks like Medusa went to a retirement home. Like a philosophy major's shake weight. Like Mime Santa. Like a lumberjack geisha. Like if math class had a stepdad. Like Colonel Sanders' grandpa. Like a Yukon Cornelius salt shaker. Okay, that's it, I'm done, there's no more, I'm Zeus in a cake mixer. This weapon is supposed to be a passive aid in decision making. And if I'm being honest, I kind of forgot it even existed. Instead of a shift in gameplay, the Solemn Vow gives you two small pieces of information, the enemy's health and the enemy's ubercharge percentage, if they're a medic. Both of these facts are very important because they can inform a team on whether or not it's a good idea to push, or if they should go in for a drop on the other team's medic. However, problems with this are: in order to even see this information in the first place, you have to actually look at the other team, which is a perfect opportunity for a sniper or God knows who else to pick you off if you're not careful. And that's also not to mention if the other team's medic is actually within line of sight. Oh geez, it's spreading. Y'all, it's spreading! On top of that, the information that you just risked your life getting is only as good as your ability to act on it, and in a lot of cases, like Casual TF2 for example, it's pretty unlikely anybody is coordinated enough to do anything about it. Least of all you. It's common practice in competitive matches to call out the damage done to other players, and there are already fairly accurate ways of guessing another medic's ubercharge percentage just by waiting for when they respawn. I have a whole video on how to do it. People have been doing what the Solemn Vow does for years without it, and equipping it isn't going to change anything. I think the only practical use for it is taking pot shots at weak enemies, but if you're anything like me, there's a pretty good chance you are just gonna shoot them anyway, so for me it just seems a bit... So far, the only thing I've noticed that's different when I'm using the Solemn Vow is whenever I switch for a quick melee hit, the first thing that goes through my mind is, I'm not getting any Uber for this. You're basically trading Uber on hit, area of effect healing, or a way to save Uber build for what is basically information you can't really do anything with. It's also worth noting that every second you spend chasing a cheap kill or trying to get a peek at the enemy is a second that could be spent, you know, making sure your teammates don't die. Oh yeah. So kind of a side tangent here. Do you all know the name of this handsome fellow here? Of course you do, you guys are medics. This right here is Hippocrates, a Greek physician who was the first guy to suggest that, hey, maybe people don't get sick from the gods or magic or stuff like that, and basically pioneered our modern understanding of medicine. It's thanks to him that we have something called the Hippocratic Oath, which is kind of a moral baselines for doctors. The first rule of which being... It's not really relevant, I just wanted to express how much I love the irony in this weapon's context, and more importantly, what it encourages medics to do. So my main issues with the Solemn Vow are as follows. The information it gives you is mostly useless, it encourages chasing after weak enemies, and it isn't anything else. So I suggest the following changes. For one, let's dump the ability to see enemy health. I'm not interested, none of us need that. Instead, let's enable the medic to see their entire team as a whole, so they can make decisions based off the information they would otherwise not have. When the Solemn Vow is held, it highlights all the medic's nearby teammates, similar to the effect when you first respawn, including name, health bar, and outline. In addition, the medic receives a 10% speed boost while active, and also a minus 50% holster speed, but we'll get to that later. Melee weapons are for when all the chips are down, okay? The monkey's in the fryer, the beetles are boiling, and you're pretty sure you're gonna die, okay? You can either use the Uber Saw or Vita Saw to fight, or to flee, you can, Amputator. So the medic could use something in the case of an escape tool, but the trick is, with this, you can't make the medic too good at running away because then nobody can catch him, and that's just no fun, and that makes him really difficult to fight. So the new Solemn Vow is no longer a passive item that gives you information you don't need. Instead, it serves as a way to regroup with your team, whether through a failed push or having freshly respawned. So not only does a 10% speed boost help you run much faster, but a medic who knows where his teammates are will always reach them faster than someone who doesn't. And that sort of awareness probably has just as much of an impact on movement as any speed boost would. This makes the Solemn Vow a pretty solid way of spy checking too. Now, normally when you respawn, this effect highlights disguised enemy spies so long as they're not cloaked. And because having that on command is a little unfair to spies, I would suggest against disguised spies being outlined. See, normally I disguise spies in the skies, but see, they're part of the Team Fortress 2 family, so I got you guys covered, don't worry. So what this means is that if a medic suspects somebody to be a spy, they can trade a few seconds of healing to see if that player has an outline like the rest, and if they don't, that's a spy. I think this is also a good moment to mention this little caveat here, because it would be pretty easy for someone to quick switch to check and then quick switch back. That seems a little abusable, if that's a word. This stat being here means you need to sacrifice a bit of time in order to gain the benefit. You can't just spam your number keys and take a wild guess. This would also answer the age-old question of, where the fuck is my team? Okay, you see, I can sit here and list everything wrong with its design all I want, but if we're going to talk about the elephant in the refrigerator, it's the fact that with Valve trying to combat cheaters and bots, something like the Solemn Vow is most likely pretty low on the to-do list right now, and I'm fine with that. I think there are bigger backs to stab at the moment. And if by some coincidence you actually like using the Solemn Vow, don't let me saying it isn't as good as I would like it ruin your day. It's a lot of fun to risk your life for cheap kills, I'm gonna be honest. So in case you like using the Solemn Vow, here's a few tips to make the most out of it. The Solemn Vow is best paired with a crossbow in my opinion, but it can also work with a syringe gun if you really feel like getting into people's faces. If you can avoid hitting them with the Solemn Vow, do it, because it's way safer to do it from the distance, even a syringe gun distance. Don't bother with anybody whose health is more than 60 or 70, because the goal is to be able to drop them in a single melee hit or a crossbow arrow, and the longer you engage, the longer you run the risk of them actually managing to react. Make sure you utilize windows as much as possible. This is where you can really safely look out at the other team and get a grip on what's happening without being exposed. Like for example, this window on Badwater, gold. This weapon is also pretty useful in regards to targeting enemy players too. If some dude is pissing you off, the Solemn Vow tells you their name no matter what class they are, so working with another pocket, you can really target someone on the other team no matter what class they go. You can find out where they are in their health and make the decision of whether to leave or not. So the Solemn Vow, in its current state, is a joke, but it can be a good joke. It can be a not-so-subtle nod to one of the founding fathers of modern medicine, and it could offer a bit more to how the medic is played. Now, if only we could get Valve to actually do something about it.
I'm the invincible, undefeated champion. Mount Zion's my ancestors can't rely on. Star of David, nah, the thought of stardom. Martyrdom and done crumbs left to the dumb thumb. To this play button, glutton of words. Mutton, birds of fly to you, dropping turds. Hopping up on ignorance to feel how you